بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم به نستعين نحمده ونصلي على رسول كريم أما بعد اللهم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Again, I would just first like to start by apologizing for being a bit late again. I have a bit of a time juggling problem because I'm currently engaged in further studies at the University of Western Cape, and we have a class on a Saturday morning from 9 until 11, and unfortunately sometimes we run a few minutes over time, and then I still have to rush from the university to get here in time by 11:30 at least for our class to start. And every time I have to tell them I need to go, and I need to rush. So my apologies for our class starting late. Fortunately, it's not too late, just over 10 minutes late. So inshallah, hopefully today in this installment of our discussion regarding Umrah and Hajj and the related matters to it, you will hopefully, inshallah, get some benefit from our engagement today again, and also to those who are following us via the YouTube live share, that inshallah, assalamu alaikum to you as well, and we hope that you also will be able to take benefit from our engagement today, and that you have been able to take benefit from our prior engagement. I must tell you that I'm greatly appreciative. One of the qualities of Allah Ta'ala is Ash-Shakur, and Allah Ta'ala expresses in particular that when people come for Hajj, Allah Ta'ala mentions that Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is Shakir. Allah Ta'ala is grateful for what people do and what they put themselves through in order to come for Hajj. Allah Ta'ala relates it to Allah Ta'ala's quality of appreciation. That what people do, subhanallah, if you can imagine, we do things like this, and then Allah says, Allah appreciates what we do. Can we imagine, subhanallah? So similarly, I would like to express my appreciation for you for coming for the class, and also those who are joining us online. So without any further ado, inshallah, I would like to just sort of summarize again, a little summarize, but round off rather is the right word, because where we are now essentially is still part of the preparation towards going for Umrah. So the next thing that I'd like to engage with is, that the person must be travel ready and travel savvy. What that means is all of the things we've mentioned up until now in relation to a person's preparation, in terms of your financial preparation, in terms of your luggage, in terms of your health, how you need to prepare for that by taking care of your health, I need to prepare spiritually. All of those things is basically to be ready to travel for undertaking the journey of Umrah and Hajj. So being travel ready implies all of the things that we've discussed until now, but in addition to that, we are going to travel with different modes of transport on this journey of ours, and there are different modes of transport that are currently available to us to use. Some of these modes of transports we might be familiar with, we may have traveled with them before, and other modes we might be traveling and using them for the first time. So how we can be familiar with them in the sense that when we are using them, at least we will have some kind of understanding how all of this fits into our Umrah and our Hajj, inshallah. So one of the important things when it comes to traveling is that you will always find a reference to a word that we don't usually use, and that is our itinerary. Our itinerary. Now what that basically means is, what is the layout of your travel plan? What is the layout? Where are you going to start? What do you have to do? What's happening next? So it's important for a person, when he's going to travel, that he must plan his travel. Because traveling can be so complicated, and it can also be extremely expensive if a person does not do the necessary preparations. So the whole thing of my engagement with you is to try and make you aware of some of the pitfalls, and to make you aware of some of the benefits that you can derive by doing things in a certain way. So it is therefore very important, if you are going to travel with a travel agent or a Hajj operator, they will basically have a layout for you, because when they present their package to you, in that package they will tell you which airlines you are flying with, they'll tell you your date of departure, they'll tell you the hotels that you will be staying at. But in addition to that, there are normally certain things that they will tell you are included in your package, and certain things are excluded. And sometimes the things that are included or excluded relates to your other modes of travel. How are you going to, because you're going to, from South Africa, travel, for example, by way of an airlines, whichever airlines it is that they indicate that they book with, you're going to land in Makkatul Mukarramah or in Madinatul Munawwara. Or if you go to Makkah first, you normally land in Jeddah, because Makkah doesn't have an airport. So you'll either land in Jeddah or you land in Medina. Then from there, you need to get to wherever you are going. So you need to know what is that mode of transport going to be, and for whose cost is it. In other words, is this transportation from the airport to my hotel in Makkah or to the hotel in Medina, is it going to be by way of a car? Is it going to be by way of one of these bigger vehicles? Or is it going to be by way of a bus? Because all of these things relates to how you need to handle your luggage. And then also, what is the cost implication of this? Is this something that I will need to pay for myself, or is this cost included? Because when you go with a certain amount of money, you've already got some kind of, whether it is a written down budget. You know, very often what people do, they calculate they're going to be there for so many days, whatever money they have, they divide it over that number of days, and then they put it into envelopes. Day number 1, they take out that envelope. Day number 2, they take out the envelope. And the problem is, when you come by day number 5, but you'll read in day number 8's envelope, then you know you have a problem. You understand? Because eventually you're going to run short on money, and then it's going to become very challenging. So to try and discipline themselves, people do this as part of their travel plan. They budget their monies, certain amount of monies, which means if they've got any monies left over from the day, then that was a bonus. So that means they've got more money to spend, you know, for the other things. So sometimes people also divide it into 2 kinds of monies. One is for food, one is for spending in terms of gifts or any other thing that people want to spend their money on. So therefore it's important also to have that in front of you. But when you are going to travel, you need to know which things are included, which things are excluded. Sometimes they will advertise and they will inform you as part of the package, you know, that there are certain ziyaras. So you also need to know which ziyaras are included in your package. So you must also do your homework. You understand? Umrah and Hajj are not blind travels. You understand? It is something that the person needs to prepare for, because we need to look at what was the Umrah of the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, what was the Hajj of the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you know, and where the seerah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, because this might be a once in a lifetime journey for many of us, and it might be such that you will only have this one opportunity to visit certain places. So you need to know which are the places that you would ideally want to visit, and in that regard, you take advice from your ulama, which places they recommend you should go to. Then you need to gauge that and look at that in relation to your package. What is included? This place is included, that place is included, that place is included. Okay, so you got your tick list. Which of the places that you want to go to are not included? And all of this is simply so that you can be prepared to know what you need to do when you get there, and not get disappointed. And then in the package they say we're going to this place and that place and that place. You only go to those places, then you want to know about them, but I want to go to that place. They tell you no problem, you can go, but it's for your own account. We don't cover that. Now you didn't make the preparation for yourself to go there. You didn't consider the cost implication of it. And you didn't make the financial preparation. Now you are disappointed. And some people, besides being disappointed, they become upset and disgruntled. Then they come back to the night, thy agent is so, and you didn't even go to that place, and we didn't even go to that place. But they never told you they were going to those places. So therefore it's important that when you must have your package in front of you. You must write down, I'm traveling with that airlines, this is my ticket price. I'm traveling from Makkah to, at least from Medina airport to my hotel. How is that travel facilitated? Because how are you going to get from the airport to the hotel? You need to be transported there. And then you need to know, from the agent you can confirm with him, they need to provide you that information. How are we traveling from the airport to the hotel? What mode of transport? Because again, that impacts on your luggage. Because if you are going to and more so, if you are going to make your own arrangements. So you need to know what kind of transportation is available from the airport to your hotel and what is the cost. If your agent is providing it, then you don't need to know the cost, because that means that is already included in your package. So that cost was absorbed. It's absorbed into your package. So you don't need to pay an extra amount of money for that. So you don't need to be ready at the airport to fork out money so as to pay for that transportation. But you need to know how. If they tell you, no, we're traveling in a group, so we arranged a bus. Now, that seems like it's a very good thing. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. You see, those who, our older generations who may have, may Allah reward all of them, may have gone for Hajj 20 years ago, or perhaps longer. They will know that when they came and they performed Hajj, there were buses. And basically on those buses, you could squeeze as many people into that bus as possible. And the luggage could go at the bottom of the bus, some of the luggage could go inside the bus, and some of the luggage could go onto the carrier on top of the bus, and then you'd have few of the youngsters that would sit on top of that luggage to watch the luggage, although it was tight, but just to make sure nothing falls off. And if something fell off, they'd hit onto the bus, and the driver would stop, and they'd get your luggage, wat nou al stukken is, it fell off the bus, so it's broken, your case is broken or whatever. But at least that is how people traveled in the past. So some people still have that concept or idea of traveling. Modern day transportation in Saudi Arabia, along with its rules, does not allow that at all. In fact, the bus drivers are very particular when it comes to luggage. Now, when it comes to the luggage, they are only allowed to carry luggage in the bottom of the bus. They're not allowed to carry luggage inside the buses, and they're not allowed to carry luggage on top of the buses. So if you are a group of a certain number of people and counting 3 pieces of luggage normally, because everybody's taking the maximum amount of luggage. Understand? Now if that bus, and now what happens? People don't travel with this kind of check-in luggage. They check because people are considering how much they're going to shopping. They go prepared with their cases. So people are carrying these size luggages. Now those buses aren't geared really to take a big, amount of cases. They're not geared for that. Now you sit with the problem. And that problem is that, and very often it happens like this, that everybody wants to get onto the bus first, and they want to get their luggage onto the bus first. So when you get there at the airport and you've got your luggage, you must understand what are the possible scenarios. If your agent tells you we're a big group, we've arranged a bus, don't feel happy immediately. Because there can still be a challenge when having to travel with that bus. Number one is, that bus, you don't know how many seats the bus accommodates. It is expected that, if the group is, for example, 30, 40, 50 people, then they will have a 60-seater. So there will be enough seats on the bus, but that does not mean that there will be enough space for the luggage on the bus. Because everybody's got their cases. And when you get to the bus, when you get out of the airport rather first, you make sure you get your own bags. Don't expect somebody else to get your bags for you. You get your own bags, you get your own trolley, you get your own bags, you understand? And when you've got your own bags, you don't take somebody else's bags. You don't do anybody a favor when it comes to carrying their luggage, unless it is somebody that is traveling with you as a relative. Your husband and wife, you can assist each other with luggage. But strangers, you do not assist with luggage when traveling at all. You can give them a hand to pick up their bag, etc. You can do that. That's in its place. But you don't take their bag on your trolley. So if you've only got 2 bags and you can take 3 bags, and somebody else has now got a problem with his luggage, and he asks you, don't you just want it? You say, sorry, I can't. Why is that? You don't know what is in that bag. Because when you go and check in at the check-in counter at the airport, one of the things they will ask you is, when you put your bag, they'll check the weight, and then they'll ask you, is this your bag? You say yes. They'll ask you, did you pack this bag yourself? Yes. Are there any certain kinds of this kind of materials in your bag? You will say no. And then you take your bags. Now you don't know who packed the other bag, and you don't know what is inside that bag. And then you're doing a person a favor, and you're taking his bag, and you're coming through customs, and they scan that bag, and they see something funny in that bag, and they open that bag, and they'll ask you again, is this your bag? What are you going to say? No. What they're going to ask you, so what are you doing with the bag? And at that point in time, if they find something funny in that bag, they're not going to accept your excuse that it is not your bag, because as far as they are concerned, the bag is in your possession, so whatever is in that bag is also in your possession. And unfortunately, it's happened like that, that people is trying to think to assist somebody. Nobody gives you a bag here to take for somebody else. If somebody here in Cape Town wants you to take something to somebody there, you don't take a packed bag. You see what is inside that bag. If you want to do, there's a student studying there, they want you to take something for him, because you have to make sure that every piece of luggage that is on your trolley, you know exactly what is inside of it. And you have to be sure that there's nothing illegal or undesirable in that bag, because if they stop you at customs and they check your bags and there's anything funny in there, the guy in Cape Town who gave you the bag, he's not going to send you bail money. He's not going to send it to you. He's just going to deny. And then it's going to be who packed and this one packed, and that it's going to become a problem. So you never carry luggage for other people unless you yourself did not see what was put inside that bag. And even then, if it is not a close relative of yours, a close contact of yours, you don't take that bag. They can be sending you tin food. They give you tins in that bag, because it goes in the check-in luggage. Or it can be cake, or it can be whatever it can be. But on the outward, it might look innocent, but you don't necessarily know what is on the inside. So therefore, we are careful. We don't carry other people's luggage, and we don't do those kinds of favors for people. So you need to know when you get to the airport, how you're going to travel. Then your luggage you get first, and again your own luggage only. Then when you get to the bus, there is always a problem for whose luggage goes in first. And you never get onto the bus until you did not observe your luggage being put into the bus. If they tell you, no, it's fine, you can get on. That same guy who told you it's fine, you can get onto the bus, when you reach your destination and your case is not there, he is also nowhere to be found. So you make sure, or at least if you are traveling with an agent, you must be sure that there is an operator, a responsible person from the travel agent that is there observing and making sure that all the pieces of luggage is put into the bus. Your problem is going to come because they don't allow luggage, and the drivers, they don't want luggage inside the bus. There's no more roof racks. You don't get buses with the roof racks in Saudi anymore. But inside the bus, they are also not allowed to carry luggage, and they get a fine. And I can tell you that the fines are quite steep, especially for that kind of thing, because what happens, and it did happen, and that is why they don't allow it anymore. People carry cases in the luggage, there's a jerking in the bus or something, and then the cases fall, and it falls onto the people get injured. So because of that, they no longer allow the luggage to be carried on the buses. Then what will happen? The operator will need to hire another vehicle to transport the bags, and that is where sometimes it can become problematic. Because what the operators often do nowadays is that they give you a specification for the size of the bag. And generally they will tell you that for the check-in luggage, they'll give you a certain specification, and you get two kinds of check-in luggage. If you know those sets that you buy, you know. Now normally you get the small one, that is your hand luggage. Then you get the medium one and the big one, those are your check-in luggages. Now they generally, for the purposes of transportation nowadays, make a requirement that you only use the medium-sized one and not the big one. Because if everybody uses the big ones, then transport becomes an absolute nightmare, and then there needs to be the hiring of another vehicle to cart those bags. And then now the big question is, who pays? Who pays? Sometimes the operators, they envisage that amount of people, that bus won't be able to fit all the luggages, so they make an allowance already. In other words, you're not going to use that facility necessarily, but they already charged you for it, and it's already included in your package. So when you get it, no, don't worry, we'll pay for it. Now what do they tell you? If they tell you, we'll pay for it. If the operator tells you, don't worry, we'll pay for it, what are they telling you? You've already paid for it. They're actually telling you, you've already paid for it, because that was already factored into your package, because they appreciate it with the amount of people that they've got. So then they will tell you, they will put the small luggages at the bottom of the bus, and the big luggages, they hired one of these Kia kind of, they'll tell you a truck. You understand? It's a small truck. They hired a small truck because they already knew. So that luggage cost has already been factored in at the time of your package. However, if it was not factored in, and now people come with all of the big bags, then at the airport, when it comes to that, getting onto the bus, it can become problematic. It can become unsavory. Now they want to speak to the driver. Now can't we just put the big bags at the bottom and the small bags? And the driver says, la. No, he can't do that, because otherwise it's jarima, it's going to be a crime, he's going to get a fine. You understand? So they are reluctant. Unless, of course, you put some extra reals perhaps in his hand, then you'll turn a blind eye. But now you have to go through all of that process. And then they'll tell you, okay, you put the big bags, but it must be at the bottom of the seat so that the traffic cops don't see it, because if they see it, he's going to get a fine, etc. So then it becomes a whole problematic issue. And now, people become agitated. People become uneasy. Why is that? Because now it seems as though there's going to be a problem with their bags. People are tired from the travel. They want to get to their hotel. They want to take some rest. They want to go to the haram, etc. And it just becomes unsavory. But therefore, it's important for you to be aware of this, and the way to be prepared for it, get the information regarding it. You ask your agent, how are we traveling from the airport to the hotel? They tell you by bus. You ask them, will there be a problem with the luggage? Or what has to happen with the luggage? When you ask him, how will you travel, you ask him also, what's going to happen to the luggage? Who's going to pay for it? If they tell you no problem, they've taken care of it, you know already, it was already factored into your package, then at least you've got some degree of peace of mind that things are supposed to be going smoothly, and the agent was supposed to be prepared that when you get there, there is already supposed to be a bus and a vehicle waiting for you, and in most instances, that is the case. The agents who are really on top of their game, they've made all of this that arrangement because they communicate with the service provider on that side, and they tell him, look, I'm going to need the bus, my flight is landing at that time, I'm going to need the bus there at that time, I'm going to need a vehicle for the luggage at that time. And those people, before he leaves, he confirms with him. When he gets onto the airport, he confirms with him again, my bus is here, my truck is here, they'll confirm, and then then they'll have somebody, a driver who comes out and he communicates with him, and then you'll know you have a fairly smooth process. That is if your operator is on top of his game and he does all of that. Sometimes the operators are more inexperienced because alhamdulillah there's a number of Umrah, service providers that's operating now. If they're not that experienced, then you might find the problem where they book the bus, but then the bus is not big enough to carry the people and the luggage. You understand? And now you need to get the issue, and then it becomes a problem because he didn't factor that transportation in, and transportation in Saudis can be quite expensive. Transportation can be quite expensive. He didn't factor that in. Now the question is, who's going to pay for it? Then he says, no, everybody must now contribute, 20 riyals, depending on how many people there are, or 50 riyals. Now you never calculated that. You never factored that. And now you want to know, but now, why must we pay for this? Then he tells you, no, because we need a vehicle, because then he's going to tell you, you brought all the big bags, and now there's no space in the bus. But the question is, that had to be prepared for. It had to be factored in. So that's why how we travel, the modes of transport, what we're going to need at what time, that is important to keep in front of you, so as to avoid the incidents where you now need to fork out money, or you get there and there's no truck. Now they need to see where and now when there is a truck, because this is how the guys make their money. So now if you had made all of these arrangements beforehand, it might have cost you to transporting of 500 riyal, mathalan, example. Now because you did not make those arrangements, so now you're in a problem, you need to transport, you need to get the people off the airport. Now to get that, now you approach a truck there, the first thing that man tells you, 1,000 riyal. Now he tells you it's double the price. Why? Because he knows you're in a problem. Now the operator or the person who's running the whole thing, he also doesn't know, and because the fact that there was no transport means that he didn't make the inquiry with regards to the prices needed. So now the money, and where is he going to get the money? Money is going to come from your pockets. So therefore it's important to confirm all of these things. And when you get your hotel, what is the check-in times? Because now if you get there 12 o'clock in the afternoon, but your check-in is 4 o'clock, what are you going to do for those 4 hours? You land 10 o'clock, you get to the hotel 12 o'clock, but your check-in is 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So what are you now going to do for those 4 hours? So you need to be aware of the time schedules that's running, so that you know how to plan yourself and how to prepare. Then when it comes to the ziyaras, the ziyaras that are included, you will find that there's also only so much of the ziyaras that the operators can take you to do. A lot of the things, because it is some of these are historically significant, but for different reasons, they might not be so frequently visited as groups. But as an individual, you should try and go and visit these places. So you must have your list of the places you want to see, and then the operator gives his list, and then you must work out a schedule. When will the operator, and you need to confirm this with the operator ideally before you travel. When we are in Medina, we're going to do these ziyaras. One thing is they tell you we're going to do those ziyaras, but you don't want to be told the night before we're going tomorrow for that ziyarah, or the morning that we're going tonight for that ziyarah. It's better for you that, because alhamdulillah, we've got some very good operators here in Cape Town, and they will normally have a complete itinerary. They will normally have a complete schedule for what they are going to do when, and they'll be able to tell you we're landing there that day. So then they will normally, the first day after you get back, you will, especially if you come to Medina, you land in Medina, the only thing they will generally, have you do this to go to Masjied Nabawi. Because nowadays to go into the Rawda and to, you can go and greet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but to get into the Rawda it requires a booking, because the men folk, they can just go into the Masjid, and then after the Salahs, they can go past the Qabr of Nabi Sallam to greet. The ladies are given an opportunity also, I think it's after Fajr, etc. Then know the time slots, then you can be there to go and greet Rasulullah when you first arrive in Madinatul Munawwara, for example. But thereafter, when you get to your remaining bookings, like your Rawda booking, your other ziyaras, the operator is supposed to be able to give you a timeline and a schedule, so that you can see in all of those times when you will be going for those, when you will be able to undertake all of your other ziyaras that you want to do. And so if you land today, then they'll take you to go and greet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to go for your salahs, etc. And then thereafter, normally the first day after you landed, they'll give you a free day. They'll give you a free day. And that free day is basically there so as to give you an opportunity to recover from the travel. Now, sometimes the free day can be in our favor or it can be against us, because we've only got a limited number of days that we are there. So if that free day is available to us, then we need to see what else is there that we would like to do, that we should utilize that free day for. And I can tell you now already that when we go on Umrah or Hajj, perhaps Hajj is, when we, especially if we had the 6 weeks package on Hajj, it wasn't so intense. But Umrah generally nowadays you get 10-day packages, you get 2 weeks, 14-day packages. And if they include Aqsa, you might get a 15-day package to a 3 weeks package. So you need to know exactly what amount of days do you have at your disposal, and generally the day when you land in a place and the day when you depart, you generally have to exclude those 2 days for ziyarah, because those are not full days. Unless, for example, you land either in the night or you depart in the night, then you could have perhaps something you can do during that day. But other than that, if you land anywhere midday and you depart anywhere midday, that whole day is out. So you need to be aware, so you need to exclude those 2 days, and then only you can see what are the number of days available to you, and what are the ziyaras they are going to do, and where you can fit in then any of the other ziyaras that you want to do, whether it is in Makkah or whether it is in Madinatul Munawwara. Okay, so then that is now you're flying, you're landing, how you get to the bus, get from the airport to the hotel. Generally, if it's a big group, they'll use a bus. But if you are doing your own thing, then you need to book a taxi. Now, they've got various kinds of taxis available, but one of the better things to do, as I mentioned, is actually to have your Uber app. Because it has also been our experience that in most instances, the Ubers actually charge less than the normal taxis. If you go to a taxi driver on the road, because he assumes that you also don't know the place. Sometimes there was one person who went for a ziyarah, because he wanted to go to this particular ziyarah, but this person didn't have the actual location from his hotel to the ziyarah place. So then he went to the taxi driver in the road, says, no, and said, go to this place. He said, oh, so far, and gave him a price, 100 riyals, which is 500 rand. Because the guy said, no, it's far, and this and that. So he said, okay, man, took his wife, and they got him because he wanted to go to this place, and the person drove with him. And, there they've got ring roads, roads around in Medina. This happened in Medina. And then the person came there and so on. And then when they got to this place, alhamdulillah, they found people from Cape Town who were staying in the same hotel as them. And then when they were going home, so they asked these people, why don't we book a taxi together? People asked them, what do you mean book a taxi together? They said, no, we took a taxi and so on. So they said, why did you take a taxi? She said, no, because the guy said the place was so far and we drove so long and until we got here. They told him, no, but the hotel is just 15 minutes walk from here. The hotel is just down the road, just 15 minutes walk, because the person didn't know the location where he's going to. All the taxi driver did, he just took a long road around to coming to a place that wasn't actually, it was just 15 minutes walk. So the people didn't know, but we walked. And that is why location and being prepared before the time is important. So you know which hotel you are going to. So from your hotel, we also need to learn how to use these things. You know, you go to Google Maps. You go to Google Maps, you have your location, and from there, you can do all of the stuff before you travel. So from Google Maps, you can check that from where I am, this is my hotel in Medina, where is this location? Where is that place? Then you will have, then you'll be able to see which of these places are actually, and you can, on the Google, it gives you an option also, the Google Maps, of the different ways of traveling to that place. Then they can tell you, for example, and sometimes it is such that it takes you longer to travel to a place by car than to walk. Because when you walk through the hotels, they normally give you the shortest route to walk. The place might seem far, but if you walk through the hotels, you know, the alleys and so on in between, then you get there quicker than by taking a vehicle, because the traffic becomes congested. So our person needs to know how to use, as I say, travel savvy. Travel savvy means you need to know how you can go to the places that you want to go to in the cheapest, quickest possible way. Understand? So now you can see, I'm here, where's that place? What are the modes of traveling there? If we go by vehicle, if I go by walking, etc., how will I be able to navigate my way to go to these places? So how that person, it would have, the 15-minute walk would have probably been very good for his health also. He would have been able to see more things. Now he paid 100 riyals, 500 rands for a 15-minute walk. You understand? So the important thing is that if we are not going to prepare ourselves in this way for these kinds of, you know, excursions or whatever it is that we want to do there, somebody is going to make us pay. Somebody is going to make us pay. You understand? But if you don't mind, if you can, you know, give out money like that, then it's fine. Then you don't still need to negotiate a lot. You understand? So be prepared, and then when you check the price, for example, on Uber, even if you're not going to use the Uber, but you can check, you go to the Uber app, you type in the name of the place because it will identify your location, and Uber is an international, you know, app, and it's, for example, if I go to Saudi Arabia, the app will be in English for me, but the guy that I'm communicating with, for him it will be in Arabic. For him it will be in Arabic because he's using his platform and I'm using my platform. So I will indicate the place and they'll give you a price in Saudi Riyal. And the general criteria that we use for the conversion is 1 to 5. Saudi Riyal is 5 rand. So now you are there, you can see the Uber is going to charge me from where I am, because remember, he needs to come to where you are to pick you up and then take you to where you want to go. And for that, he's charging me 20 Riyal. So now if I go to a taxi in the street, now I ask the taxi in the street before I confirm the trip. Or I can ask the guy in the taxi first, whichever I want to do, whatever way you want to do it, you know. But you have the reference of the cost of the Uber. That guy, and he tells you 50 Riyal. Then you can tell that person, no brother, sorry man, you're overcharging. So now you can gauge. If a person tells you 25 Riyal, you can say, okay, it's fine, because he is here, you don't still have to wait for the guy of the Uber to come. But this is how you then check for the prices that you are going to pay for the places that you want to go for ziyarah. And we will find that now, because of Uber being there, it's actually been a different, you know, competition between the Uber guys and the normal taxis, you know. So, but the main thing is we should not allow ourselves to be caught in a trap or to be caught out. We therefore need to be prepared. So one is your technology, your Uber, etc. You check on your Google Maps. And you can do all of that. You make a list of the ziyaras, because you must know before time. I've got so much days available. We're going that day to that place, that place to that place, that place. Where will be my free times? How far are the ziyara places I want to go see? Is our ziyara going to be during the day? So I'll have my nights free. Is ziyara going to be during the night? So I'll have my day free. And because the time you're going to spend there is so congested, it is so full, you understand? You have to be physically prepared to be able to operate at that pace. You must be physically prepared for that. You understand? And then the other option obviously is that if you want to go from look, for most of these ziyarat places, if it's around Medina or around Makkah, you've essentially got two options. One is you get a private vehicle, or number two is, that is if you travel yourself, you can hire a vehicle for the time that you are there. But that is also fairly expensive. But you've got the convenience of having a vehicle. But then you need to ensure that the hotel you are going to is able to provide parking. Otherwise, you need to go and find a parking place as well. And that's going to be another cost. So you're going to have the cost of the hiring, the cost of the petrol, as well as the cost of your parking. You're going to have the freedom of the vehicle. And the other thing there is that they drive on the other side of the road. So if you're not used to that kind of driving, it can be a bit awkward in the beginning. You know, here by us, the driver sits on the right side of the car. That's the driver's side. There by them, the driver sits on the left side of the car. So if you're not, you know, in terms of your turning, in terms of your parking, you can't figure that out properly, then you might have a problem driving there as well. So those are all options available, but they are not our preferred options. Our preferred options would be, number one, you travel with an operator who arranges all of those things for you. So it's just to save you the hassle of it. You can do your own arrangements also, but then you must be travel savvy, know how to utilize the available transportation. Another option now is the train, which is a very nice option because it is a fast train, so the train travels at a very big speed. You know, what will take people, for example, 8 hours to 6 to 8 hours on average, if you take a bus from Medina to Makkah, will take you 2 hours with the train. But then again, traveling by train has got a bit of a drawback. And what is that? Luggage. They only allow you certain amount of luggage, and then everything over and above that, as far as the luggage also is concerned, they don't allow you to check in those big bags. If you want to have those big bags, which our people like traveling with, you need to pay extra for those bags, which is why in most instances the operators nowadays want you to use the medium bag, because the small hand luggage and the medium bag, that is what they take on the train without charging you an extra cost. Now, normally on the train, you must check your ticketing also. Does it allow you 1 or 2 bags? Same like with the flights. In most instances, they only allow you 1 bag, which means that you might need to pay for your second bag. So they are particular about 2 things when it comes to those bags. Number 1 is your size of the bag. Number 2 is the weight of the bag, because sometimes a bag can be small but very heavy. So they will sometimes just allow you to check in, because if they look at the size, then they're not so worried about the weight. And sometimes you get some of those people that will become very particular. They want you to weigh your bags, and if the bag is overweight, you need to pay for that as well. So just like how with the aeroplane, you know, size and weight of bags becomes important, same with the train. And if your bag is overweight, whether it is by the airlines or by the train, you might need to pay. And sometimes they have an arrangement where your luggage stays behind, and then it will come on a different train, because if they don't have space to accommodate your extra bags, then you need to wait, then you carry on, but then your luggage will come to wherever you are going. Let's say you're going from Medina to Makkah, your luggage will come to Makkah afterwards. It will either come the same day but by the evening, or it will come the next day. Then they will communicate with you and advise you that your bag is there. Then you still need to go and fetch that bag again, which again obviously can throw a bit of a problem into your routine and your schedule, because when you initially made that schedule, you did not calculate that luggage issue. So therefore, you know, how we travel, to be travel savvy, to know how to deal with our luggage, these are very important components of traveling, in terms of either making traveling easier or making traveling more difficult and complicated. And obviously the one thing that nobody wants is to have unnecessary challenges in our travel, and more so unexpected cost. We don't want to, because I mean, we took the money for shopping. I mean, we didn't take that money for other stuff, you understand? So now you don't want to have to sit with having to pay every time. And now in your mind also, these are things that wasn't prepared for, these are things that wasn't catered for. So now it just starts making your Umrah unpleasant. And we don't want that. That is why I'm mentioning these things in this class, because these are some of the things that people experience, and these are the kind of things that spoils people's trip of their Umrah or their Hajj. But by being aware of it, I'm not going to just tell you, oh no, you don't need to worry. No, you be prepared on your own. Even though you travel with an operator, you be prepared so that you can do your Umrah. Remember, it is your Umrah. Your operators, he's done a number of Umrahs already. He's trying to make your experience as comfortable as possible, you understand? But you can't also leave everything to him. So therefore it's important to get whatever information you need, and these things that I'm mentioning to you, hopefully inshallah you're taking some notes, you're taking, or becoming aware of this. So these are the kind of things that even if you book by an operator, you must ask them these questions. What's going to happen with these things, inshallah? So again, this is basically just a summary of the things that I've mentioned. So plan your travel thoroughly, A to Z. Time of departure, time of return. So you plan your travel, and importantly, when planning our travel, we also must have to plan, as I mentioned previously, we have the culture where we sit and the people come to greet us, etc. So that must be part of your planning. In the same way when you come back, you know, one thing is that the people, they want to be included in the gifts, and they're happy, they want your du'as, etc., etc. But the other thing also is people are going to come to your house. Now the people come to your house, are you going to present something to them to eat? So that is also a cost. Now the question is, even if you make some of your relatives responsible for those arrangements, who's going to carry the cost? So you need to know all of those things, because that must be included in your Umrah travel. Your arrangements for whatever is going to happen before you leave, and your arrangements for what is going to happen after you return. Because you don't want to return, and now there's 30, 40 people here by your house, there's been no arrangements made, en die mense sit, en die mense praat, en daar's niks op die tafel nie, and then you start feeling awkward also. You understand? So we don't want to sit with that scenario, so we make sure that those arrangements are put into place. And if you've made somebody responsible for it here at home, you always check with them, and you always inquire from your agent before you come home whether there's been any change in your travel arrangements. Because look, there are certain things that will happen that even your agent could not factor in. Because it could be that there, for some unexplained reason, is a delay with one of the flights. Then you miss your connecting flight. So now all of your travel arrangements are going to be out. And you need to be prepared to accept that possibility. That can happen. Although we make dua, it doesn't happen when you do travel, but these things can happen. So you need to be prepared for that. You understand? And what's going to happen under those circumstances? Then it depends on how long the delay is, etc. Because you must remember that they've booked their flights. Now there was an unexpected delay, so now they can't wait for your plane for the other plane, because otherwise it creates a chain effect where the one causes the other one to become late. So they'll have the other flight leave, then you need to wait, and then it might not be possible for you to travel on the next available flight. So you might need to stay over. Now you need to stay over. What you have to do, they're going to put you into a hotel. They will, if it was as a result of the airline's fault that the flight was delayed, they will provide you with accommodation and all of that. But now you must know that they provide you with a food voucher also. You stay in an accommodation, you can have your meal, but all of your other plans become delayed. And you're not going to have to decide also sometimes. They tell you it's not necessary to take your luggage. Your luggage stays there because it will just be put onto the next flight, but then you've got your hand luggage with you, you understand? So these are all possibilities. We are hopeful that those kind of things don't happen. But if they do happen, it's not a train smash. It's not a train smash. Because if it's due to the hotel that your flight was delayed, and you can't get your connecting flight, and you have to wait for a later flight, they will generally provide you with accommodation. Depending on how long you have to be there, they'll normally provide you with 2 vouchers for your meals. They normally provide you with a breakfast and a supper, so that you can go and have breakfast and supper there at the place where you're going to stay. And other than that, you can take rest in the hotel. You can take rest in that hotel. If you want to, it's a different country, you want to go and do a bit of sightseeing, you must just be very careful. They will tell you that they will take you back to the airport at a particular time. When you are going to that kind of sightseeing, make sure you don't miss that time. Because it happened also. So the people lost 2 flights. The connecting flight when they came was gone. Then because of them getting busy with sightseeing in the country that they were, they came late for the new flight, so to say. Then they had to buy their own tickets after that. Because now coming late for that flight is not the airport's fault. It's not the airline's fault, rather. So you have to take responsibility, and they want you to pay for that. Okay, so these are all things. And then your family, you need to communicate with them to let them know, listen here, there's been a problem with our flights, we missed our flight, but we're getting a next flight. Then you can try to confirm with the agent and the airlines what time is your next flight, so you know how much time you've got available to you. You can communicate with the family. Our new flight will be at this time, and we'll be landing at that time. Because now your family is making all of those arrangements, you understand? No matter krief curry weer terug sit in die fridge en die akne en die pies en die samosas, you understand? So hulle wil nou daai goed lekker warm gehou het vir die Hajj nou daar aangekom het. But now when you come there and you find pies is koud, dis maar nou koud. Yes, that's what over it now is, you understand? But but you know, we must actually rise above these kind of occasions. You understand? For our Umrah. We mustn't be phased. Don't allow those kind of, although we try to be as prepared as possible, but this is also a journey of test. You understand? This is also a journey of test. So you must be prepared to embrace those tests. You must be prepared to embrace those kind of setbacks. And when it does happen, you just say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, alhamdulillah. And then you carry on. You understand? But don't allow those kind of incidents to spoil it. That is why the better you can be prepared, the more you can be able to navigate those kind of circumstances. And then when they do happen, then you know you've tied your camel, and that the rest is by Allah's decree. The rest is by Allah Ta'ala's decree. So then if you are performing Umrah without using a travel agent or a package provider, make sure you have thoroughly planned your trip, as I mentioned, including your transportation, which is all what we discussed now, the available modes, the time frames, and the luggage requirements, which are all the things that I have discussed and mentioned now. About your hotels, the check-in and check-out times, and the sites you wish to visit in Makkah and Medina, know the locations. From where you are to where that is, how far is it? Can you walk till there? If you can't, do you have to use a transport? What is the general cost of that transport? So familiarize yourself with the background history to the sites you are going to visit, and you become your own tour guide. You become your own tour guide. It must be such that you can also, you know, navigate yourself around the Umrah. Where's my... Okay. Now, clothing is a very important thing, and it is important for us to be aware of the seasonal changes between ourselves and Saudi Arabia. So, Saudi Arabia has essentially got 2 seasons, summer and winter, of which the summer, as we all know, is extremely hot. The winter, the temperature is generally moderate, but you can on occasions, especially in Medina. See, Makkah is closer to the coastal area, but especially in Medina, sometimes if you go there in our summertime, then it is winter by them. When it is winter here by us, it is summer by them. So you must know these changes in the season, so that you can prepare in terms of your clothing. Now, you are going there and you are going to buy clothing as gifts, isn't it? You're going to buy kufiyas and kurtas and dresses for you and dresses for this one. So why do you want to pack a lot of clothing from home? You take some basic clothing, but whatever, don't overpack. Because now if you overpack, the things that you buy, where are you going to put it? Because now what's going to happen, the things that you brought, you're going to have to leave that there. So that is why my encouragement normally is, you can take 3 bags. Only 2 bags is what you pack. The 3rd bag, that's your extra bag. So in there you can put some food stuff. You don't have to pack the maximum weight to go. You want the maximum weight for when you come back. So you need to know how to pack your luggage also, and clothing is important because, and I don't know, I don't mean anything by it, but unfortunately in most instances our females have a tendency to overpack because they pack 3 outfits per day. You understand? Because they pack a morning outfit. I was like Breiramus, understand? The bride, she's got a morning dress, and she's got an afternoon dress, and she's got an evening dress. Now, unfortunately, when we go for Umrah and Hajj, our ladies pack like that. And we appreciate you feel like a bride because it's all this journey, etc. Alhamdulillah, may Allah Ta'ala, grant you all of that experience and that beauty, alhamdulillah. But it becomes a practical problem for you to because you need to cart, these bags need to be carted also. You understand? You need to, sometimes, you need to lift these bags, you need to pull these bags, because there isn't always somebody available to assist with your bags. So there is a degree that you need to deal with your bags yourself, and you need to be prepared for that. And the best way to be your own best friend, don't make those bags too heavy. It's fine if you bring them back heavy, but don't take them heavy. Take them as light as possible. You know, one of our ulama, he used to recommend that when it comes to clothing, you only take 3 sets. You take 3 of everything. You take, in the case of men, you take 3 pantses, you take 3, your underwear, 3 sets, and you take your kurtas, 3 sets, and you take your kufiyas, 3, and you take your socks, 3 pairs. And practically regarding shoes, you only need 2 pairs. You take yourself like a tacky kind of shoe, a comfortable shoe that you can generally walk with, and then you also take, a sandal, because for the purpose of the ihram, the foot must be open at the top. Now, this is generally for men. Now, for ladies, it's practically the same. And then if you're going to go there in winter, you take like a jacket, but not like our kind of winter jacket. Just something, and because worst case scenario becomes a bit cold, you buy yourself a shawl there or something, because it doesn't stay constantly cold like how we have. You understand? And when you go into your rooms, you have an aircon, so you can put the aircon higher so that it's not as cold, or you can bring the temperature down. If it's too hot, you can bring the temperature down. If it's too cold, you take the temperature up. You understand? Because this is all the kind of facility that is available, so that you don't need to take that big, winter coat, and you don't need all of that when it's winter there. So we must be, considerate when we pack our clothing. And the very important thing is our ihram. So besides our other 3 sets, we have our ihram. For the ihram for the men, it's basically just 2 pieces of material, and you get 2 kinds. You get various kinds and sizes of ihrams made from various materials. But the 2 most popular is the toweling and the cotton. The toweling normally people wear in the winter times, and then in the summer people will prefer thinner ones, and the most coolest is basically the cotton one, which is basically that we have, like, it's almost like a kind of a linen. I'm not sometimes sure what is the difference between linen and cotton, because if you look at it on the face value, it's sort of, I thought just that linen is made from cotton. That's what I always understood. But sometimes this is linen and that is cotton, and Allah knows best. But you need to check your ihram also and make sure that you have that with you. And then, as we know, for the men, it's 2 pieces of cloth, unstitched. And then when it comes to the ladies, it's basically normal clothing. In fact, there is no specific color specification when it comes to the ihram. There's a recommendation for the men to have the white. For the ladies, there is actually no specification or recommendation even regarding color. So the ladies can wear any kind of normal clothing, and it can be any color also. However, it is encouraged for us, because the Umrah signifies a process of purity. and it signifies a process of purification. So for this reason, people normally associate the color white with purity. So therefore, when people go for Umrah, and the ladies generally has been inclined to wear white, kurta, etc., for their ihram. So this is something that we also need to take cognizance of. Right, so for the Umrah trip, both men and women should prioritize comfortable, modest and breathable clothing, which is where the cotton comes in. If I can, one thing I can tell you for definite, please don't buy new shoes for traveling. Don't put on a pair of new shoes the morning when you're going to travel, and you don't put on a new pair of slippers when you're going to do your Umrah. Your feet are going to be in a problem. Because we all know that new shoes, generally, it's a bit more tight-fitting, and you don't have the comfort of the walk. You still, as we used to say, you need to walk in those shoes. So if you are wanting to have a particular kind of shoe that you want to wear for your Umrah, make sure that you buy that pair of shoes a few weeks before the time, and that you wear it, even if you don't wear it every day, but you do wear it so that you can walk in those shoes, so that by the time it comes when you travel, those are now not new shoes anymore. It's been walked in, so now the comfort of the shoes is there, because you do a lot of walking. So one of the things that is very, very important when a person does Umrah and Hajj is comfortable footwear. Because you will find many, many people for whom the Umrah experience becomes a problem, because they're sitting with blisters on their feet, and then now because of the blisters on your feet, you also don't want to every time go to the haram for salah. Now you just want to stay in the hotel, because that walking is now a problem for you. Now it affects your entire trip, just because of a pair of shoes. You understand? Because it affects your comfort. So therefore important, and same with clothing. Don't wear tight-fitting clothing. Wear comfortable, breathable clothing, inshallah. Because if you wear, your skinny jeans in Makkah and Medina, believe me, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. Because you're gonna be in a lot of movement. You understand? So you will be uncomfortable. So wear comfortable clothing. Right now? So men typically wear 2 white unstitched cloths called ihram, while women can wear loose-fitting, non-transparent. That's a very important thing also. Because sometimes people understand that they have to cover their aura. One thing is that you must cover your aura, but it is also such that the material that you use should actually cover your aura, because it's not just that the area must be covered, the area must also be concealed from people's sight. You understand? Because you can have a dress, but your whole body can be showing, it can be seen, because the material is such that people can see your whole body through it. One of the ulama said that the ladies who wear the transparent clothing, or the extremely tight-fitting clothing, where you can actually see the whole shape of the woman's body, you understand? Then they say that this is for those ladies, they want to please Allah and Abdullah. You understand? They want to please Allah by that they cover the aura, but they also want to please Abdullah by having to show their figure. You understand? So they want to, but now this is not the Islamic way. We only please Allah. We're not worried about Abdullah. So you must make sure that it is loose-fitting. Don't wear, tight-fitting clothing. Don't wear transparent clothing. So clothing like abaya or a jilbab, along with a headscarf. This is what is normally preferred. Your normal abaya or the jilbab, which is that burqa kind of a thing, and the headscarf, this is what you wear. And we prefer fabrics like cotton or linen, are recommended for the warm climate. And then, if needs be, you can either, ladies normally, very, very dressy, and then they have like a shawl thing. So in the days when it's a bit cold and so on, you, instead of having a jacket, because now if it becomes warmer during the day, then to deal with a jacket becomes a bit problematic. So in the first day or two, you might get a feel of what the weather is like. And I can tell you there's also a very big difference between the weather in Medina and Makkah. Makkah doesn't have the kind of cold temperatures that you get in Medina. Sometimes in Medina it can get so cold, that if there's water outside, the water will freeze. It can go to 0 degrees also in Madinatul Munawwara, whereas you don't find that. Makkah, even in winter, it's more moderate to hot. Understand? More moderate temperatures to hot temperatures. So how we can be aware of all of these things, inshallah. So now, just with regards to clothing, and I'll conclude on this, inshallah. I see our time is also finished almost. Number one is, when it comes to clothing, the one rule is modesty. That's the first rule for us as Muslims, modesty. And what is that? Choose clothing that is respectful and avoid bright colors or flashy jewelry. This is in the state of ihram. In the state of ihram. Everywhere else you want to go, but it is still not recommended for us to have this when we are in Umrah, because even though the actual Umrah is a specific act of ibadah for which we have specific clothing that we wear, our whole trip is a religious trip. It is a holy trip. So it's not a trip that we want to be displaying our material possessions. Then another thing is comfort. Opt for loose-fitting, breathable fabrics to stay comfortable during travel and when performing the rituals of Umrah, and also for your Salah. Because what you must bear in mind, if you go into the aeroplane, the temperature is regulated. You go into the bus, the temperature is regulated. You go into Masjied Nabawi, there's also a means for regulating the temperature, because they've also got fans there, blowers and coolers, etc. They've also got aircon there. And the mere fact that you've got all of that amount of people in one place, the body heat from the people also generates heat. You understand? So to be overly concerned about cold by way of big jackets and so on, it can become problematic. And also for traveling in terms of luggage becomes a problem. So try to be comfortable, because now you've got your big jacket on, with people there, and it's getting hot inside, and it can become a problem. And then we wear layers. This is what I mean, to dress in layers to adjust to temperature changes. What I'm mentioning about the shawl. And even for men also, you understand? You can wear a nice waistcoat, because for men generally, and in most people's cases, even the ladies also, you get that waistcoat, because generally if your back is warm, then you don't actually become affected by the cold. Even if your arms and your hands might be a bit cold, but your back is warm. So those waistcoats without the arms, with the zip, because you get it in different kinds of materials which are normally a bit warmer also, you take one of that, you zip it, and you will find that you are actually comfortable. The main thing is to be comfortable. You don't want to be cold, and you don't want to be hot. You just want to be comfortable. So that waistcoat is also, and honestly, it is something that I generally always travel with, because just in case there's a drop in temperature, I'll put that on, I'll wear that, and it is something that doesn't take a lot of space in your bag. In fact, you can even carry it in your hand luggage, or worst case, you carry it in your hand, and when you travel with your case, you can hang it over the case as you pull the case, because most of the cases are those trolley cases. So that isn't something that takes up a lot of space. And as an alternative to a shawl, that is probably the most suitable thing. And then shoes, as I mentioned, choose comfortable and supportive shoes for walking, and make sure that you've walked in those shoes before you travel and wear them in the rituals and for your trip. Then your ihram, for men, the ihram is crucial before starting the rituals and should be worn as instructed. We're going to come to that. There's a whole discussion. We're going to start with that next week, inshallah. Then hygiene, extremely important. Maintain personal hygiene with travel-sized toiletries. One of the things that we highly recommend people to carry with them when they travel is hand sanitizer. Because where you are traveling, there's not thousands, but millions of people who's gone through that same place, who use those same toilets, etc. Although they've got people there to clean up the place, always make sure that you wash your hands regularly. And if you find, for example, it's winter time in the haram, etc., and you find you come there, a lot of people coughing, try rather to wear a mask. Try to wear a mask as a precaution, especially if you are generally a sickly person. You understand? It's all just about taking precautions to ensure that for your trip, you are safeguarding yourself and ensuring that you have the best possible trip, inshallah. So we'll conclude on that. I don't know if there's any questions. Nobody's got a question? I'm always worried when nobody's asking questions, you know. In fact, they were the university where we're doing the course. They actually concentrate more on questions than actually explaining anything, because they want to know, what is your thoughts, etc. So, inshallah, any questions regarding the things that we mentioned today? Or if not, there's anything else you want to ask? Nothing? So may we conclude? Jazakallah. Subhanallah wa bihamdi. But Yahya indicate net vir my iets daarso, wat ek miskien moet announce. Alaikum salam. So ek het, ja, right? Yeah. But they want to come into a presentation also one day. We will discuss. Yeah. So okay, so there's this Al-Ansar traveling tours that will be having a Umrah in September and October. So I don't think the time is really going to allow us, but we'll put up the notice at the back there. So these people on Ansar, they are from Heideveld, Ziad, Wahi, Sulaiman, Gabriels, Nazim, Majid. The numbers are on here, and then these are the Umrah packages that they are offering. I actually don't want to use this platform as an advertising platform, because I'm not advertising for any, that's, I actually wanted to steer away from that. I don't want to be involved in that, because I don't want it to seem as though I'm here soliciting for people to travel with any agents, and then the people have an unpleasant experience and they think, but I recommended them. So these people, they brought this here. I'll put it up at the back, and then inshallah, whoever might be interested, they can have a look at it. But remember, I'm not associated with this, because I've tried to have my presentation as merely a presentation regarding Hajj and Umrah. I'm not here to solicit and to canvass for any Hajj or Umrah operator. I want to be neutral in that regard, inshallah. May Allah grant us all tawfiq. Subhanallah wa bihamdi. Subhanaka wa bihamdika.